Last time in Sunny Isle, we tackled the city's health crisis by building a new medical campus and a green district. While we were busy laying tracks and expanding the population, a quiet plan slipped through government, one that would reshape the island forever, the city's very first highway. The proposal was bold and brutal. It would cut straight across some of the island's most valuable flat land, a scarce resource on these steep hills. Car owners and freight companies celebrated, but valley landowners refused to sell, knowing that their plots were worth far more to the city's future as homes and businesses. So, the highway engineers hatched another plan, not through the valley, but over it. Bridges soaring above and tunnels slicing beneath, a complex feat of engineering designed to preserve every scrap of buildable land. And today we break ground on phase 1 of that highway. Will it be a success and solve all our traffic issues, or a public infrastructure nightmare? Let's find out. Welcome back to Sunny Isle. Hey everyone, welcome back to the city. And in the last episode, we made pretty good progress on resolving our healthcare issue, with a lot of these places experiencing low supplies. So it turned out there was a conflict with one of my mods, and when I spoke to the mod author, they had a look and they made some changes, and they said all we had to do now to resolve the issue is go ahead and replace any of the assets that are complaining, and the whole thing should be resolved. And if we have a look at our existing clinics, we can see that there are no vehicles assigned. So replacing this and adding all the upgrades that we had before, we can start to see all the vehicles heading out. And I think eventually one of them is a delivery truck, but we'll have to see where they're held up. Okay, so yes, traffic is crazy through here. And this is one of the reasons why I think we really do need to upgrade our road infrastructure circling the city. You can see we were just so close, yet so far, and we can finally get a delivery here at the clinic. Let's take a closer look at this modern medical clinic here. It was complaining about a lack of supplies, but it does appear now that it's getting deliveries, and it's got several vehicles making those deliveries. Medical clinics can source their products from several places. It could be a local warehouse from zoned industry, or a larger cargo hub like a train terminal. And if we have a closer look at where we're getting deliveries from, it appears to be coming from our main train terminal. But this semi-truck is a little bit stuck, so if we just adjust the roads, we can get them moving again and watch as they battle through the traffic to make their delivery. Okay, lovely stuff. It's finally made it. Lots of medical supplies, and this will be repeated across Sunny Isle, where all these assets are now receiving the goods that they need. For this one near the school, we do have an existing clinic or two nearby, so I thought what we could do is replace it with a walk-in centre by using the upgrade from the medical university. It has a practice clinic which acts very similar to a regular plopped clinic, except people can only walk there. So if we place this in here, we'll remove some of these sub-elements. I think we should be able to make it fit nicely. Let's go ahead and just add a few little details through here, upgrading the surfaces, adding some new props and trees to make it feel a little bit more at home. This asset comes with some hangout and walking areas, so let's go ahead and adjust those and add some extra paths along the back too. Oh, look at that. It looks like school has just finished and the kids are leaving, which is a fantastic feature if you're using the realistic trips mod, where everybody goes to work and goes to school at the correct time all together, creating these big rush hours. It'd be great if we get a little lollipop lady across here just to help people get across. I don't know, it's a traffic light intersection anyway, so it should be fairly safe. And if there's any issues, we've got this new walking clinic. So let's have a quick look. Yes, people are using it, which is fantastic. They're walking from all over the place, actually. We've got people coming down from over here near our bypass road, our relief road. And how about on the other side of the river? Yeah, we've got a couple of people coming over from the other side of the river, and it looks like we've got quite a lot coming from the train station as well. Fantastic. And it means with this asset, it doesn't generate any more traffic. So it will receive deliveries through the main building, which is on the other side of the island. I'd like to imagine perhaps there is a delivery done within the organization, but putting this here, I think will benefit the city greatly. It's a lovely little asset with a nice little garden area at the back as well, with a popular cut through. Anyway, I think that pretty much resolves all our clinic issues. They're getting their supplies. We don't have any complaints. We've got a couple of traffic jams heading up to the train cargo terminal. But with those changes in place, we can go ahead and have a look at our budget, specifically the healthcare and death care. Since in the last episode we increased this to 150% just to negate that negative debuff with the lack of supplies. So we'll just set that down to 100%. And our budget is looking pretty healthy at the moment. We've got a surplus of 1.3 million. However, that does fluctuate depending on the time of the day. So typically at night, we make a little bit more money because there are less taxi drivers to pay, which I think is hilarious, that the local government is putting up the money for that. But at the moment we're making some money, and usually we're not making any money during the day, so I'm happy to see that. Okay, let's take a look at the bigger picture here. Where are we going to be putting these highways? As I said in the introduction, I don't want to be building a highway through the middle of this valley area here, simply because we've got quite a lot of infrastructure in place already. We've got the tram depot, we've got this commercial park here, we've got the village with the cemetery, and then we have the river running through. And perhaps you could justify putting a new highway through the middle, but it would ruin the waterway, it would de-beautify the whole area. And we could consider maybe replacing this road here, where we've got the Valley Commercial Park. And I'm sure the businesses here would love it, but I'm thinking that this highway will have very few on and off ramps. So the residents and the businesses here probably wouldn't benefit too much, simply because the road would completely bypass them. And on top of having such expensive infrastructure here like this tram depot, it just doesn't seem very viable to waste all this land with a road that doesn't really service it. And since we've got quite a lot of traffic using this road here, we've got traffic jams at this roundabout. We often get a lot of traffic at this section here. This is the coastal road that takes you all the way down to South Bay, I believe. I'm thinking for the first stage of this, we could completely bypass the valley by coming off this road here, the one that connects to the border in the distance, coming up the side of the hill, and then we could bridge across this part of the valley, over this road, through this hillside here, and then bridge across this valley here, over the river, over the farms. We could create a entrance on this side, and I don't think we're going to have another entrance to the highway anywhere else until we get over to this point here. And that will simply act as a way to get from point A to point B without having to stop at any of these awkward intersections. And what that also allows us to do as well is retain this road through here. It will reduce the amount of traffic, so the capacity will stay the same, but its use would become slightly less, and we can start to develop through here without having to worry about access, where we've got this highway road kind of taking all the traffic away for us. Now, it does get a little bit complicated when it comes to this part of town. Now, I'm thinking of linking it up with our relief road here. It's almost a highway. It's a bit more of an expressway. We've got the lighted section here, which does get a lot of traffic, I tell you that. And it heads down to this roundabout. And once upon a time, I did talk about maybe turning this into a roundabout interchange, and I think that plan is still on the table. However, if you've got any other ideas, I'm happy to hear them. Okay, so to visualize the plan, I'm going to draw out the route of the new road using these colored surfaces by Elgendo87. These are pretty useful. They come in a couple of variants, so you can have a version that draws over the road or sits underneath the road. I opted to go over the road for this first part, but I did later upgrade them to go under the road just so that I had a little bit more clarity where I was drawing or designing the new road system. But for this, we're creating a very rough shape through the area just to work out what buildings we need to avoid, what parts of the hills we need to enter, and visualize where we can put the tunnel as well. Okay, so this gives you a much better idea of where we're heading today with this road. And it's not going to be an easy path. It's very curvy, it's very bendy, it goes up and down. We've got some obstacles like this high-speed rail line to consider, which is raised itself. So we're going to have to go quite high up into this hill if we want to bridge over it and then create a new tunnel section. But I really do think this will make getting in and out of the city a lot easier. I just think that the hardest part of this will be creating this tunnel, because making tunnels in City Skylines 2 is quite difficult, and the only way I seem to be able to make good tunnels is creating them in one continuous piece. And since we've got a little bit of a wavy line here, I'm going to go ahead and place down a couple of straight segments on each side above ground, and then see if we can connect them up with some sort of complex curve. For this section of the tunnel, I'm going to be using these tunnel portal beams. These are custom created by Harbour Master J I was on Sully's Discord just talking about how I'd like to put some supporting beams at the entrance here, and he went ahead and whipped up these amazing new assets which you can download and add locally to your game. Just check out Sully's Discord for more information, and these are pretty cool. They're just made from some existing props put together in the editor, and they create quite a lovely looking tunnel entrance. They can also be recolored. I'm going for a grey here, but I do change it for a white just to match the colour of the vanilla road entrance, making it look a little bit more harmonious. Looking ahead at the next part of the project, we're going to be buying a few tiles. They turn out to be quite expensive because of the amount of groundwater through here, although we won't be able to use it because it is polluted. Okay, so we've got the tunnels in place now, and these are looking pretty good. I like the fact that we can recolor them, make them our own. The land around here is flattened out just to make that look a little bit nicer, and it comes all the way through here. And the purpose of this road here is mostly to service the top of the tunnel. It's more of a service road, I guess, but I'm not against maybe expanding this in the future, following the edge of the hill and maybe adding a few nicer homes or maybe smaller rural homes along the top here. But overall, I'm really liking the look of this, especially as we've got the high-speed train running through here. That's really nice. It's going to be great when we've got traffic coming over the top and the rail coming through with the tram down here. That will be quite an interesting scene, I think. And I think we can start to construct this section here, coming up the side of the hill, creating a gradual gradient for the vehicles heading onto the new bridge in the distance. Oh, that's looking quite clean, isn't it? With that divergence of road. Yeah, I'm liking that. And we're out in the countryside, so we've got a lot of space to work with, so we may as well make use of it. And we can already start to see some of these vehicles coming down, peeling off, heading down to the local road which comes back together over here. And yeah, that's a pretty simple build, to be honest. We don't need access on this side of the road to join onto the highway. I'm expecting anyone that comes to this junction here either to use the regular valley road that just goes through the area, and they can get onto the highway further inland if they need to, or if they're heading to the border, they can simply join onto the highway up here. So I'm not going to overcomplicate this with lots of entrances and exits to the road itself. I'm going to keep it as streamlined as possible so that we can control the flow of traffic, where they're going, where they're coming off, and I think this is the best way to do it. I wanted to upgrade the road between the new highway and the border crossing, so jumping into Road Builder, we're converting this into a 4-lane road, simply just updating the existing road. So you can imagine in reality they would just be adding an extra lane of traffic on both sides of the tarmac, and since again we're out in the middle of nowhere, it should be a simple upgrade. For the existing intersections along this route, I'm going to simplify them. For this one, which connects up to a rural road, we'll keep this fairly simple with a yield sign. However, we will provide a deacceleration lane just so that we can make the intersection a little bit safer. And we'll restrict right turning traffic for this smaller road coming onto the large. When adding these dedicated turning lanes, we can just come through, adjust the roads and making sure that the straight through lanes are nice and clean. For this other intersection near the rail line, this goes into our power plant, so I'm going to be adding a right turn for the smaller road here, and to enable an easier turn we are going to use traffic lights here. Okay, I think that's pretty good for this road through here. It doesn't need to be over complicated. This is a little rural road here. We don't need any fancy traffic lights. And then if we head down here, like I said, I probably would have preferred a roundabout, but given the space near this train track and not really wanting to move any closer to this hillside, I think this is good enough. We've got separated roads for anyone wanting to come off this highway, expressway, whatever you want to call it, and that takes you down to the coal power plant. And that's one of the main reasons why this is a lighted intersection, because it's quite vital that we've got access for delivery trucks delivering coal to the power plant, and sometimes they can get caught up if it's a yield sign or giveaway, and this just allows even slower vehicles like buses to be able to exit easier. Okay, so let's move on to the next portion, which is between our tunnel and our off-ramp, on-ramp, and I'm going to start to build a bridge across this section, and I think we can use a fancy bridge for this to make the pillars as less frequent as possible. So maybe we just get 1 or 2 pillars through here, keep the land fairly open for farms or any buildings we want to put down in the future. And we don't have too many bridges to pick from. We want to have one that has at least 4 lanes of traffic, and I know we've got a few custom ones in here which are quite nice. So this is an edited version of the truss bridge, which is 6 lanes. I think that's slightly too many, and that one's 2 lanes. It's kind of too few. So I think I might go for this 4-lane divided extra dose bridge instead, and we just see an example of that. Yeah, that's a nice simple looking bridge that we could put through here. It's not too much of a statement bridge, but it's also not too plain, is it? So yeah, that'd be quite nice. Let's go ahead and put that in. Okay, yeah, that looks pretty good to me. And yes, it's quite high up off the ground, but these bridges do tend to be super high, and it even clears the electric cable that we've got going through here, so we don't even need to adjust that, which is quite nice. Yeah, that looks pretty good. And we've got a little car park below it, which seems appropriate. Yeah, lovely stuff. Okay, let's go ahead and let's connect up these two roads here. Now, if we angle this right, we can get a beautiful shot of our new road going right through the area. Yeah, that looks really nice, that. And we've got the power plant in the distance. We've got the traffic. Anyway, yeah, this is in place now, and I did opt to use the retaining wall through here. As I said, I want to have this barrier on the road, but I also didn't want to have a 50-foot high retaining wall, so I did bring the land up. I made the road on the other side at surface level, and so that helps the transition of the land. We got a little bit of a cut here, which I think looks really nice. It looks like it probably could happen in a place like this, and then as that sweeps around here, it goes over and into the tunnel. Okay, let's go ahead and start to work on this side here, and we can make our first connection with this roundabout down here, hopefully. Although we do need to do something about that tram. I'm going to go ahead and go into the development tree and unlock the Grand Bridge. This was one of my favorite assets in my first city, and I've always wondered if I've been able to use it again. So let's get this down, and using the continuous curve tool, we can create a connection to our tunnel entrance using the constant slope tool to ensure that the gradient through here is nice and gentle. So I think this will most likely be the most controversial part of the project, separate from the unnecessary tunneling at least. And it might seem a little bit out of place putting this here, but if you imagine this area might be a little bit of a floodplain, so we want to make sure that we're high enough that the road infrastructure never really gets that affected by any sort of potential flooding. But it also is a centerpiece to the valley, you know. It's not just a concrete eyesore on the hillside or in the middle of the hills. It's a beautiful piece of architecture, and I do think this Grand Bridge is very well designed. You've even got these little viewing areas at the top here, which I don't know how people access them. I guess we do have some footpaths on this road, but we don't have any footpaths leading up to it since we're going to be using the highway road with this. And we do need to move this a little bit move it so that it's not blocking the river as much, but I think this is warranted. It's not too high up on the horizon, so if you are in the distance, it's not necessarily sticking out. You can just see a few of the turrets in the distance through the fog, so I quite like it. And it's quite nice coming over this train track here. You can see the truss underneath holding it all together. Yeah, I think it works. We might need to remove this chimney though, because if that is blowing steam onto the road, it might cause some accidents. But you can see where we're going to go next, and this will more than likely have to be the next phase of the build because it will be quite complex. And as I said, I'm not sure whether to go overground with this or make use of some of Jay's assets and bring the road underground. Nevertheless, let me know what you think in the comments, what we should do on that side of the bridge, and let me know if you think this bridge should stay or should it go. We could also have a look at some of the new bridges that come in the Bridges and Ports DLC in the future, so this is a little bit more of a placeholder, shall we say. Okay, we need to connect up this road, and I'm going to create an on and an off ramp leading into the tunnel. I'm not going to create a connection heading to the Grand Bridge. If anybody needs to head in that direction, they can get on the interchange that we'll eventually build on this side over here. And we just want to funnel the traffic in and out of this area without people using it for local trips. It's more for long distance trips. So I wonder whether there is a way of making this a little bit more compact. Okay, this is a little bit better. I can see what's working, what's not working. Bringing these roads closer together, intertwining, is definitely making a big difference, and we've opened up the land over here, but I think we could make this even more compact. Yep, that's it. I think we've got it. That is super, super compact, and we've got all this lovely space around it. We're using all the space underneath it appropriately. We've got all the pillars in the right spots. The gradient may be a little bit steep in parts, but nothing too wild. Anyway, I think this tram road will need to go. I'm not happy with that ramp going up and down. I think we could just simply wrap it around the edge of this area here, following the high-speed train track, and then have it go underneath this interchange here. But overall, I'm pretty happy with that. I think what we can start to do now is add some details. I'm thinking some simple things like a retention pond here, because I imagine there's quite a lot of water in the area given we've got this large hill here. And over here, maybe a small little office park, somewhere to refuel, a little petrol station, and yeah, see what comes about it. Okay, let's take a closer look at this area. So we've got this lovely little office park area, little petrol station to pop in if you need a refuel in or out of town. And this is just a simple little giveaway intersection here. I don't imagine there'll be that much traffic that it warrants anything much more than that. Small little place to grab a snack, little commercial property, although I think they're selling clothes, so maybe it's somewhere to get a nice suit or something. And yeah, some small little offices. But this is what I'm really happy to see, this roundabout in action with all the appropriate line work. And I don't want to go into this much detail everywhere, but it's these areas where we're more likely to just kind of hang around, pause for a moment and take it all in, where we can really dedicate a little bit of time and attention to put in those small details. And I think it looks lovely. And combined with this little retention pond just in the background here, it's not necessarily something you want to look at directly. It's not crazy detailed. We don't have any pebbles or anything like that, but just something in the background. It breaks up the monotony of the green space. And I don't think it was a very good spot to really build anything. And yeah, overall, pretty happy with the way this is looking. Okay, quick side mission. We're back in the main city where we have this bridge and this road going over the main train station. We had some really good feedback on the episode where we were working on this, and it was suggested to convert the traffic lights into a giveaway. And if we watch this carefully, we can see that the traffic is moving a lot easier now. Anybody that wants to cross over the intersection on the bridge just has to wait for a gap in the traffic, and it just allows easier movement of vehicles through the area. Okay, back to the tram depot, and I just received early access to an amazing new mod by Tygon, the creator of Tygon's Rail Infrastructure Pack. This is a part of Tygon's Tram Infrastructure Pack, and it includes these off-road tram tracks which look very similar to train tracks, and I thought this would be a great place to put this in here. And I did forget to record it, but I did place this track around the intersection, around the interchange, and let's follow it along and see what it looks like. Yes, I really do appreciate those off-road tram tracks. They really do suit this area. We do need to clean it up a little bit, remove some of these trees, but having that wrap around here, again, we do need to fix that column as well. Have that coming down here. It just makes a lot of sense to have something more rural, something that is more appropriate for this area of town. You wouldn't expect it to be a paved road when it's just in the middle of the countryside like this. We are getting a lot of traffic. It seems that we're going on several side missions today to fix the traffic through here, but can't really do much about it. This is one of the main entrances into the city, and it's all very much built up, very compact, and not much we can do. We could potentially add more lanes, but that's probably just going to cause more traffic. What we need to do is we need to redirect the traffic out of this area into more distant areas where we've got a little bit more space to handle that amount of traffic. But something that might help it is an idea which I'm not 100% sure works in City Skylines 2. However, I did notice where I've put this little stub of a road into this field that we're getting people parking their cars, and in fact we've just had a few people park up here, and if we have a look at where they're going, they're heading to the tram stop, and that tram only goes into the city, so they're using this as a park and ride. So why don't we formalize that by putting some proper car parking spaces here and allowing more people to use this area and using this tram stop as a proper park and ride scheme. Okay, so it looks like our park and ride car park is fully open now. We've got a few people starting to use it, and the area is looking very prosperous. with this tram coming through here. We've got much better pedestrian facilities as well. These pedestrian bridges and paths all connect up to our national trail network designed since day one of this build. We've got footpaths going all the way through the countryside here. Sometimes people are willing to walk very long distances, and why not take advantage of that if they're willing to use it? And we've even got this little pedestrian bridge here, which is always full of activity, connecting the people of Riverhill to the valley. Okay, so not much else to do now. I really wanted to do something special with the motorway though, and that is to create some custom signage using the Right Everywhere mod. Now I'm not going to go into too much detail because I'm still learning the mod itself, and I think the video would be twice as long if I was trying to show everything that I was trying to test out with the mod, but I'll give you some of the highlights as I put together some new highway signage. But for this I did create some of my own gantry signs or sign holders with the help of Harbour Master J. So if I just search for gantry in Find It, this should show everything. So Harbour Master J has these local assets that you can get on Sully's Discord. These are gantries that he designed for train tracks, which I've not yet used, which is a shame because I do think they're absolutely gorgeous. But I've adapted them for the road use. So I've taken off some of the props, and so this is an adaptation of one of these with a few less props. And I've also made some full width road gantries as well, and these should in theory fit the width of, you know, like a 2-lane road or a 3-lane road if you don't have the double road like this. And I've got the extra wide one here, and I just used the editor to create these because it's quite tedious to recreate each one of these for each one of the signs I want to place down, whereas if you create it in the editor and just save it as a new object, you can place it down as many times as you like, which is fantastic. And before we do that, we've got another side mission here where we've got all this congestion on our relief road. I'm using traffic lights enhancement mod to change the type of light from protected turn to phased light. So at these busy intersections, it's good to experiment with different light modes, and I think this is the winner for this one for sure. Back to our highway build, and before we jump into the world of Right Everywhere, I'm creating this little ventilation shaft at one end of the tunnel, just using a few props and some of Crypto Gamer's cubes. Along the highway itself, where we're using two different networks, I'm placing these barriers along the way using the parallel road tool and net lanes. These are just little concrete barriers that you typically see between some highways or motorways if you're in the UK. And in between this, we'll also use one of El Gendo's asphalt networks, just so that we don't get any of those pesky bushes growing through the cracks. And I'm also going to spend a little bit of time doing some custom road paint work here. Nothing too crazy, just something simple. You have to remember to put the arrows in the right direction, which is the opposite to the traffic flow. Okay, now it's time to start putting some of our custom signage down. I'm not going to go nuts with the signage. I'm just going to do something super simple. some basic directionals, there's north, there's south, highlight key areas such as the border or the center of town, as well as some local neighborhoods. I'm using signage that I found from the UK government website, and I'm simply taking that into Microsoft Paint and removing the text. Once you have the image ready and saved as a PNG, you can add that to your Write Everywhere mod folder and import it into the game. I've got a few different signs here, such as these medium square-shaped ones and the longer ones following the UK's guidelines to highway signage, which is all available for free online. With the signage all in place now, let's find a car that's going to follow the journey and ride along the road itself. Okay, so we weren't able to make a full journey because of the traffic, but I can give you a zoom in shot of this little sign here, which we created. And I'm just using these little sports field sign scoreboards as little dot matrix signs, which can change based on some sort of like digital transmission. But yeah, I'd say this is a resounding success. We've got the tram coming through here, super speedy. If you don't want to be sat in traffic all day, make sure you use the tram. Still battling these trees, which are super annoying, but we can fix them as we go. And if we take a look at the park and ride, look how popular this is. That's fantastic. And I do suspect that most people using this car park are using it for the tram service, which is lovely. That means we've got less and less vehicles heading into the city, less congestion. But it hasn't fixed everything yet. You can see we're still struggling with traffic through here, and that's because there's nowhere else to go on this highway yet. We still need to expand it into the rest of the city. So let me know what you think about what kind of interchange we should put down here. Do we really want to put a massive overground overpass, or do we want to see if we can bury it underground? I don't know. Maybe we do both. Maybe we build it overground first and come back to it, say in 10 episodes, and put it underground. But nevertheless, it's looking really good. It's looking promising, and traffic is moving. We still do get quite a lot of backups along here, so maybe even the highway needs to extend all the way up to this point. Or maybe we need to do something completely different. Maybe we should bypass that road altogether and come onto this side of the train tracks and bring the highway around the back of our freight terminal. The only issue is the freight terminal is in the way. So it's all about balancing the cost of removing existing infrastructure with creating new infrastructure. But that's the name of the game, and that's what I enjoy doing. And then I'm really excited to see the city grow further. Today we started building our new highway, tackling the challenge of building over and through the steep hills of Sunny Isle. We've got our tunnels and bridges in place, and the new road is already helping traffic flow better to the border. But this is only the first phase. The next step is figuring out how to connect the highway to the rest of the city. I'm not sure if we should build that massive overpass, or try to build something a little bit different. Will these changes truly solve our congestion issues, or are we just moving the problem? Let me know what you think we should do next. As always, take care, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.